From KVUE News in Austin, you're watching Texas This Week with Ashley Goodo.
Thank you for watching Texas This Week. Of course, the big news this week, the U.S. Supreme Court ruled Texas can use its newly drawn congressional district map that favors Republicans. We dive into the implications, plus the acting state comptroller is kicking minority and women-owned businesses out of the state's historically underutilized business program. More on those stories in just a minute, but first, let's get to the 3 things you need to know in Texas politics. Tomorrow is the last day for political candidates to turn in the paperwork to run in the midterm elections, and a lot of eyes are on Dallas Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett. The Democrat is considering entering the race for U.S. Senate and is set to hold a news conference Monday afternoon. Former Congressman Colin Allred and State Representative James Tallarico already launched their campaigns for that seat. President Donald Trump announced a full and unconditional pardon for U.S. Representative Henry Cuellar and his wife Imelda. The Laredo Democrat was indicted last year in a federal bribery and conspiracy case. Investigators accused the Cuellars of accepting nearly $600,000 in bribes from a Middle Eastern oil company in exchange for advancing their interests. Cuellar says he and his wife are innocent. On social media, President Trump accused former President Joe Biden of prosecuting the Cuellars because the congressman was critical of the administration's immigration policies. Cuellar filed for re-election as a Democrat, ending speculation that he might change parties. Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton is investigating one of the biggest fast fashion companies in the world, Shein. The AG believes the China-based online retailer could be violating state law by using toxic or hazardous materials to make its products, and says they are misleading consumers about product safety and ethical sourcing. The investigation will also look into Shein's data collection and privacy practices. We reached out to Shein for reaction to the investigation, but did not hear back. This week, acting Texas Comptroller Kelly Hancock issued emergency rules changing the state's historically underutilized businesses program, kicking minority-owned and women-owned businesses out of the program. It's now Vet Hub, the Veteran Heroes United in Business program, and is for businesses owned and operated by veterans with a 20% or higher service-connected disability. He says the state wants to end race and gender quotas, but State Senator Royce West, who worked to pass the bill establishing the program, is criticizing the move. We talked about the impact this will have. I want you to first give us your initial reaction to this news. Acting Comptroller Kelly Hancock really sort of changing, right, the definition of hub.
Well, the fact is that I find it disappointing but to take this giant of a step in terms of changing a program that's been around 35 years before seeking input from people that would adversely be impacted. Transparency is always something that's discussed at the Capitol. And in this instance, there was no transparency at all because those businesses that are adversely impacted never had an opportunity to have input into the process. I've never had a situation that I know of in 30-something years I've been in the legislature where you have frankly, a separations of powers issue. Yes, we gave the comptroller during George Bush's administration the power to do rules for the program, and that's good. But what Hancock is consistently saying in many circles is that this is a DEI program, and it's not a DEI program. And words matter. It's a program. It's a good faith program. George Bush allowed this particular bill to become law of the state of Texas when he was governor of the state of Texas. He would not have passed a quota program, and nor did we try to put in place a quota program, but we put in place a good faith program where we're saying that all businesses, regardless of the color of their skin or their gender, should have an opportunity to participate. And we wanted to make sure we measured the good faith that was being conducted by state agencies. That's what this program does.
Talk to me about what happens now. Obviously, he implemented these emergency rules. They went into effect immediately, changing the program. What are you going to be doing?
Well, as a legislator, there's not a lot I can do other than make sure I continue to sound the alarm. And the businesses that are impacted have to decide whether or not they want to take a look at exactly what he's done and see whether or not they want to challenge his actions.
Scott, you called it. We sat here and you said that this is what was going to happen.
I wasn't going to say anything. I wasn't going to go like, hey, what did I say it was going to happen? It is what happened. And it's because it's simply partisan, right? I mean, the Supreme Court now is stacked with conservative justices, a lot of them put in place by President Trump himself. And it's Trump who's been pushing for this, right? He was the one who kickstarted everything here in Austin over the summer when lawmakers at the Capitol redrew the lines. And of course, that didn't come without a lot of controversy with the Democrats walking out, quorum break. Then you have this arms race for redistricting that started all across the country with California and other states weighing in. We just saw in the last couple of days, I think it's the governor in Virginia said, well, we're going to redraw our map to be 10-1, overwhelmingly Democratic to answer what has happened in Texas. And so not really a surprise, but it does put some things in place now, give some finality so that those candidates or potential candidates or people who are now not going to run could decide what they were going to do.
Yeah, I want to say finality, but with an asterisk, right? Because they said that the map can stay in place while the legal fight plays out. We should note that this will then be the second fight over the maps that is currently playing out in court. I mean, before we dive into how it's impacting candidates, talk to us historically about Texas and its maps and what this really says, this decision really says.
Well, it's a sad fact that ever since the Voting Rights Act was put into place decades ago, every map that has been passed by the Texas legislature has been found to contain racial discrimination by the courts. And this is the first time that the Supreme Court is letting a map stay in place and doing absolutely nothing about it after it's been found to be racially discriminatory by a court here in Texas. That, as I believe that is unprecedented. And so, yeah, these maps will stay in place for now, and the legal challenge will continue. But the reality is that they've got those maps. And I was talking about this on the Quorum Report Radio podcast. The fact is that when you have these kind of challenges going on for maps like this with the district lines, or you have lying, cheating, stealing that happens toward the end of elections, people claiming to have endorsements that they don't really have, and those sorts of things. Some things get into the question of legality, some things get into the question of ethics. But when it's all said and done, the voting has already happened and will have already happened in this upcoming election by the time they get around to any of that. And one other thing, my publisher and I, Harvey Cronenberg, were talking about this earlier today, the fact that this has played out this way, and I'm not predicting this, but my prediction's been okay lately, but it could be that we just do this every 2 years because of the way that this just played out.
Wow, that would be something. Okay, so let's talk about how this is going to play out come the midterm. So the Senate race is, the U.S. Senate race is the one a lot of people are watching. Jasmine Crockett, what is she going to do?
I have every reason to believe that on Monday afternoon she's going to announce that she's running for the United States Senate. You can't have made this much noise about something and then not do it. I mean, how would that look? I think in practical terms, it does solve a problem that the DFW delegation has right now, which is during this redistricting, they did shrink the number of Democratic seats up in Dallas-Fort Worth. So you have a couple of other current members of Congress who are Democrats who are either, going to end up, at least maybe one of them running against Jasmine Crockett if she ran for re-election to the House. If she doesn't do that, both Mark Vesey and Julie Johnson kind of get a pass, and they get to go ahead and have safe Democratic seats to run in. It doesn't mean they won't have primary challengers by the time everything is said and done with when the filing deadline passes next week. But as Crockett gets into the race, we've talked about this before, it completely upends everything. You know the old saying about best laid plans? Both Colin Allred, who has raised millions of dollars, and James Tallarico, he's raised millions as well. Both of them thought that they would be in a two-man primary, and now they've got a woman to come in and upset some things.
Yeah, just quickly, the Mark Vesey, Julie Johnson both securing a seat potentially. That's not the case here in Austin.
No, as you know, Congressman Doggett had said that if the maps were upheld, if they were allowed to stay in place, which is what's now happened, that he'd be stepping aside, clearing the way for Congressman Kassar to stay in office. And of course, that's what's happening. They had shrunk the number of districts for those Democrats here in the area, and that's the consequence.
Again, the deadline for candidates to file to run for office is tomorrow. That's Texas This Week.